Hello lovely people, how are you all doing? Before we go into today's video, there are some key points we need to note. Yes, parenting could be difficult. Parenting could be a very hard job. But our job as parents is to love our children no matter what, and even if. No matter what they do, and even if anything happens. The second thing to note will be always focus on what you can control, not what you cannot control. As we go further, we'll understand this point better. Number 3, there must always be control. Who takes it is what you need to discover at every stage. Number 4, any child of any age can be on any stage. Another key point to note, there are certain things that we must provide for our children as parents. Number 1 will be love. Remember, we say we'll love them no matter what and even if. Number 2 will be air, oxygen. So we have to allow them breathe, not suffocate the air from them. Number 3 will be food. We have to provide food. Something else we have to provide is water. And finally, shelter. So these are the 5 free necessary things parents must provide for their children. I'm picking points from the only parental model that I saw, being my parents. Kudos to my mom. Laying it side by side with points picked from Dr. Paul Jenkins. He has a PhD in clinical psychology. So we're going to be infusing both together and drawing our points. Let's get right into the video. My name is Onwa Duto and I am a teens coach. If this is your first time here, you're welcome. But if you keep coming back, you are much appreciated. Thank you very much. If you have not seen our first video in this series, I will urge you to please go see our first video so that you can understand what we're going to be talking about in this video. It's a continuation of the first one. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the stage 2 of maturity. Now back to my mama. I realized that as we grew up a little bit, my mom actually stopped spanking and started speaking with us. She would listen to our own opinions on certain issues, like what are we having for breakfast? Instead of the normal beans on a Saturday morning, we could say we prefer bread and egg, and she could consider it. Or she would say, no, we will still have beans. But there are sometimes she will give in to us. So meals started changing from yam porridge every Saturday to spaghettis on some days. Things started changing from just plain crayfish and fish to beef and cow leg. So things were beginning to mix up because she was beginning to listen to us. And then I found out that time to buy me a dress, I would hear something like, do you prefer a gown or a skirt? And I'm looking at my mom, is that a trick question or does she really mean it? Then I also found out that I could say some certain things that before could give me a big slap from wherever she is. As in once I finish saying it, I would receive that slap even if she wasn't close to me. Those of us that are Africans, we definitely understand how slaps manifests. But I could say those things and I could get away with just a stare. So I realized that something had changed. It was no longer the forcing things down our throats and making decisions for all kind of thing. Things had changed a little bit. She was beginning to listen, even though she still had the major decision making, but she was beginning to listen to our own opinions. Now this is stage 2. We had moved to stage 2, or at that point I had moved to stage 2. if you look at the graph clearly, you will realize that maturity had increased and the level of control also has increased. So we are no more on stage 1 where we had zero control, zero maturity, but we now have a level of control. So in stage 2, we are more mature. We've stopped fighting, stopped throwing tantrums, and we started cooperating. So we've gotten to the point where we can now negotiate. This stage, parents are in love with this stage where there's no more shouting and yelling and the child feeling like the child is being picked on or being sidelined. But now the child is actually cooperating. Even if you say, no, we're not going to have this, we'll rather have this, it's still the parent imposing, in quotes, but yet our children are at that stage where they are like, okay, whatever, anything you say is fine, and then the response is no longer, I'm not your slave, you're always picking on me, why do you nag all the time? You're now beginning to hear things like, fine, okay, if you say so, we have now moved. And they are agreeing, well, just because they don't want to fight, not as if they totally buy your opinion, but we're not fighting anymore. So we love that stage. So at that stage, you can tell your child, I think you should wear the red one instead of the pink one. And you hear things like, okay, whatever you say. And they go in and they change. Can we please clean this house right now? Mom, can I finish watching this particular program of mine? And you also give in and say, okay, once the program is over, please, let's get this house organized. And we're all happy people. You see that? So everyone is happy at this stage. So when mommy is happy, everybody is happy. So in stage 2, we communicate, they listen, we also listen. So it's not only them listening to our opinions, but we are also listening to their opinions. We might not necessarily take what they say all the time, but we are listening to what they have to say. From the graph, you can see that the control is shared. So as maturity increases, the level of control also increases. So here they have more control. Our children have more control. The discipline is still consequences for stage 2. And we focus on things that we can control. The things we control. Remember, there are 5 major things that we must provide for our children as parents, which are love, air, food, water, and shelter. These 5 free things we provide should not be used as consequences. But as parents, we know that we provide a whole lot more. So those other things that you provide, those are the things you are in control of and should be used as consequences. But for stage 2, because they have a level of maturity, you can decide together what consequences could come into play should they violate a certain rule. Discuss with your children what consequence will be better. For example, should you curse, what consequence should come into play? You'll hear things like, I'll write an essay. Writing an essay, as parents, I don't know if we have control over that. Because if the child decides not to write the essay, what do? You can't force the child's hands to write the essay now, can we? But there are other things that we control. So those are the things that should be used as consequence, but it should be agreed by both parties. Example, no outing for the next 2 weeks. It should be agreed upon. That you control. Or reduce my weekly allowance. Something, all those kind of things you control. Focus more on those things and use them as consequences. A brief recap for stage 2. Cooperation is key in this stage. They begin to negotiate and They show more maturity, hence they have more control in stage 2. Discipline is still based on consequences, but now the consequences that come to play are things that have been agreed by both parties, being parents and the child. So that is it about stage 2. I urge you again, if you have not yet seen stage 1, just click on the link that's going to pop up now and go watch that. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you loved it, kindly give me a big fat thumbs up and share it out if you would. Subscribe if you have not done so already. Thanks a lot. I'm going to be seeing you all in my next one. Bye-bye.